I was leaning against the tall kitchen window of my apartment, watching snowflakes tumble lazily onto the street below, when my phone buzzed. A notification from my family group chat, another cheerful Merry Christmas message from Mom, a string of emojis from my younger brother, made my chest tighten in a way that was almost physical. I smoothed the wrinkles in my cashmere sweater, feeling the soft fibers under my fingers, and tried to ignore the memory that always snuck up this time of year. Christmas. That one Christmas. The one where my father had shouted across the dining room, "Starting next month, you'll pay rent if you want to stay here." I could still hear the echo, the clatter of silverware, the gasps from relatives frozen in shock. I had smiled, too, but it was a brittle, polite mask over a storm of confusion, humiliation, and a creeping, stubborn spark of defiance. I sipped my coffee, bitter, letting the warmth seep into my hands. How had I gotten here, in this sunlit apartment overlooking the city skyline, yet still feeling the shadow of that night? I told myself stories of success, promotions, independence, but part of me still longed for some acknowledgement that I had survived it, that I had become someone my dad couldn't dismiss with a single, cruel sentence. The phone buzzed again, pulling me back. My brother's message read, "Dinner at home tonight. Mom insists." I exhaled, running my fingers through my hair, a mixture of dread and determination swirling inside me. Tonight, the past would come knocking, whether I was ready or not. I remember that Christmas like it happened yesterday. The house smelled of pine, cinnamon, and the slightly burnt edges of Mom's sugar cookies. I was 17, nervously smoothing down the skirt of my school dress, trying to look like the cheerful daughter they expected. My dad's booming voice usually commanded the room, but that night it felt sharper, colder. We had just finished the obligatory toast, glasses clinking, laughter echoing. I had mentioned, tentatively, almost whispering, that I might take a gap year to work and save some money before college. I was trying to sound mature, responsible, independent. Then came the words, "Starting next month, you'll pay rent if you want to stay here." The sound of it cut through the room like a knife. I felt my chest tighten, my palms clammy. My little brother froze mid-bite, Mom's fork hovered in midair, and even the cat seemed to sense the tension. My dad's eyes were stormy, and I felt a strange mixture of hurt and anger building in me. I opened my mouth to respond, but no words came. My voice had been smothered by disbelief. I could feel the lump in my throat, the sting of humiliation burning my cheeks. That night, I learned what it meant to be dismissed, to be treated as if my dreams were optional. Later, I retreated to my room, clutching the small gift my grandmother had given me that morning, a simple, silver locket. She had whispered, "No one can take your worth from you. Remember that always." I held it close, letting the cool metal against my chest remind me that I had value, even when the people who were supposed to protect me couldn't see it. That night, with the soft hum of the radiator and the distant echoes of the Christmas lights outside, I made a promise. I would not stay small. I would not be bound by anyone's idea of what I should be. I would find a way to make it on my own, even if it meant leaving the warmth and safety of home behind. I started small, taking odd jobs, saving every penny, learning to navigate the world beyond my father's shadow. The humiliation fueled me, and every time I touched that locket, I felt a spark of resilience. That Christmas, my world had cracked, but in the cracks, a path was forming. I left home this spring after that Christmas, suitcase in hand, heart pounding with a mixture of fear and excitement. My first apartment is tiny, with peeling paint and a radiator that rattled all night, but it was mine. No one could shout at me here. No one could tell me I didn't belong. I started working at a small marketing firm downtown. My mentor, a seasoned woman named Claire Donovan, immediately saw something in me, a fire I had barely recognized in myself. She handed me my first real project, a campaign for a local boutique, and said, "Don't just do it. Own it. Show them what you're capable of." Her words became a mantra. The nights were long. I remember sitting at my desk, fingers aching from typing, the coffee beside me going cold, the glow of the computer screen reflecting off my tired eyes. There were moments of doubt. Was I really cut out for this? Could I survive without my family's approval? But then came the small victories. My first successful ad campaign, the first bonus check, the first client who praised my work so sincerely it left me shaking with disbelief. I learned to budget, to invest, to make my money grow quietly, almost invisibly. My friends saw only a casual brunch post or a vague, work stuff, comment on social media. My family had no idea I was slowly building an empire out of determination and late nights. I liked it that way. It was my proof, silent but undeniable, that I could do it on my own. There were setbacks, of course. A client pulled out last minute. A presentation failed. I cried in my apartment more times than I can count. The locket from my grandmother pressed to my chest, a talisman reminding me of the girl I had promised to protect, the girl I was becoming. By the time I turned 24, I was running my own marketing consultancy. My apartment was filled with sleek furniture, bold art, and awards I had won but never bragged about. I was financially independent, emotionally fortified, and yet something lingered, a quiet thrill that maybe, just maybe, one day they'd see me, really see me, not as the kid who had to pay rent, but as a woman who had turned that humiliation into power. It wasn't just about proving them wrong anymore. It was about proving to myself that I could carve my own path, that I could be the architect of my life, free from the echoes of old expectations. The locket still rested around my neck, cool and grounding, a reminder that every late night, every hard-earned victory, every tear shed in solitude had been worth it. The invitation from Mom had come 2 days earlier, polite but insistent. "We'd love to see you for Christmas dinner, Hannah. Just come home. It won't be the same without you." I stared at the message, my thumb hovering over the reply button. Part of me wanted to say no. Part of me, a more daring, mischievous part, wanted to go, not to appease, but to reveal. I chose my outfit carefully. Not flashy, not over the top, but elegant. Soft cashmere, tailored skirt, and a simple gold necklace that caught the light just right. I wanted them to notice, but I wanted it to feel effortless. Just like me. The moment I stepped into the familiar house, the air thick with cinnamon and pine, the old memories came rushing back. My dad, hovering near the kitchen counter with his glass of wine, paused mid-conversation. My little brother, now taller than me, gave a nervous smile. Mom's eyes lit up with relief, but then softened in recognition of the woman standing before her. They were expecting a struggling, dependent girl. What they got was someone entirely different. I led them into the living room, letting them absorb the space. Expensive art adorned the walls, sleek furniture accented by personal touches I had chosen carefully, photos of travels, awards subtly displayed, bookshelves filled with titles I had devoured during nights of study. The apartment smelled of vanilla and fresh coffee, a curated mix that said, without words, "I built this." I let the silence stretch. Let them see the confidence in my posture, the quiet determination in my eyes. And then I spoke. "I'm glad to be home for dinner." I began, calm, collected. "I also want you to know something. I run my own marketing consultancy now. My company works with clients across the country. I own the business outright, and, financially, well, I'm in a position I never could have imagined back then." The words hung in the air like ornaments on a tree. My father's face went through a rapid sequence. Disbelief, shock, guilt, admiration. Mom's hands clasped together, her voice almost a whisper. "Hannah, you did all this?" "Yes," I said, letting a small, satisfied smile curl at the corner of my lips. "I did. Every late night, every setback, every moment I felt like giving up, I did it." They looked around, as if the apartment itself was speaking. The locket at my neck glinted in the overhead lights. I reached up and touched it, a subtle reminder that the girl they had dismissed so easily had not just survived, she had thrived. My dad's voice finally emerged, quieter than the booming tone of that fateful Christmas night. I didn't realize." "I know," I said softly. "And that's the point. You didn't see me then. But now, here I am. Fully grown, independent, and unshakable. And I'm not just here to prove a point, I'm here to set the tone for how we move forward. For a long moment, the room was silent. Then, finally, they started to speak, stammering apologies and questions, trying to process the revelation. And I watched them, calm, composed, letting them take it all in. I was no longer the frightened teenager clutching a locket. I was the woman who had turned every ounce of pain into power. The conversation after dinner shifted, subtly at first, but I could feel the power had changed hands. No longer the timid daughter, I was now the one setting the rhythm, the boundaries, the expectations. My father, still trying to reconcile his image of me with the woman before him, cleared his throat. So, what does this mean for us? For the family? I smiled, calm, deliberate. It means that I'm here, fully present, but on my terms. If I'm going to continue being part of your lives, there are conditions. Things have to change. Mom's eyes widened slightly, but she nodded, ready to listen. First, I said, looking at my father directly, you must acknowledge the ways your words hurt me, and you must commit to not repeating them. Respect isn't optional. It's required. He opened his mouth, but I gently held up my hand. I'm not asking for an apology, just to hear it. I want actions. I want you to demonstrate that you see me, not the girl you used to dismiss. Turning to my brother, now in college and still finding his own footing, I continued, you need to pursue your own dreams, but not by avoiding responsibility. Step into your potential. Stop waiting for someone to tell you what you're worth. Mom, soft but firm, received her condition last. You have to stop trying to fix everything for everyone. Let me handle some things myself and respect my choices, even when they don't match what you think is best. Trust has to be mutual. Every word was deliberate. Compassion wrapped around firm boundaries. I wasn't punishing them. I was guiding them toward growth. And the more I spoke, the more I realized how much I had internalized the lessons of that old silver locket: strength, resilience, self-worth. I'm willing to help, I said finally, but this is how it works now. We rebuild trust. We respect each other. Toxic habits end here, tonight. The past is gone, but it's only gone if we choose better moving forward. There was a pause, the kind that stretches time and makes hearts race. And then, slowly they nodded. I could see the beginnings of understanding, the recognition that the dynamics had shifted permanently. It wasn't about control. It was about equity, growth, and acknowledgement. And for the first time in years, I felt free, not just from the constraints of my family's dismissive attitudes, but from the lingering fear that I had to shrink to be accepted. I glanced down at the silver locket at my neck. The same object that had carried me through my darkest moments now symbolized not only survival, but mastery. I had taken the past, transformed it, and now I held the map to the future. One where respect, boundaries, and self-worth were non-negotiable. The days and weeks after that dinner felt different, lighter. Conversations with my family were no longer charged with tension or fear. My father called sometimes just to ask for advice on a work project, and for the first time, I noticed a hint of respect in his voice. My brother shared his own ambitions, excited and more confident, asking me questions instead of waiting for permission. Mom stopped micromanaging everything around her, finally letting herself make choices without needing my approval. I watched them grow in small, meaningful ways, and I allowed myself to feel proud, not just of them, but of the journey that had brought us here. It hadn't been easy. The nights I spent alone in my tiny apartment, the tears shed over setbacks, the constant battle to trust in my own abilities, they had all led me to this moment. The silver locket, still resting against my chest, felt heavier now, not with weight, but with meaning. It symbolized endurance, courage, and the unwavering belief that I could become someone remarkable, even when others couldn't see it. Every time I touched it, I remembered the frightened teenager who had been told she had to pay rent, and I smiled. That girl had survived. She had thrived. And I realized finally that the true gift wasn't the wealth, the accolades, or the independence. It was the clarity, the understanding that I could define my own worth, set my own rules, and still offer compassion to those who had once doubted me. I could be strong without being unkind, powerful without being cruel, and independent without being isolated. That Christmas, I had walked into a house full of expectations and left an imprint of change. But the lasting transformation was in me. I had learned to carry my past without being weighed down by it, to set boundaries without guilt, and to love myself enough to demand respect. I looked out the window at the twinkling lights of the neighborhood, feeling a quiet warmth in my chest. And I whispered to myself, the words echoing in the stillness of the night, I am enough. I am unstoppable. And I am free.